Alrighty, welcome guys to the Heavy Metal Truckers. We have decided that we are going to do this video because a major ordeal has happened within the rock and metal community, industry, whatever you want to call it. And we're not just talking about Gojira playing at the fucking Olympics, like
How crazy was that?
landmark historical event, which they screwed up the mixing on that. Like, you could barely hear Joe's vocals in it, and apparently the commentary was just ridiculous.
Yeah. And that, and you figure the people that were probably mixing that aren't used to mixing metal, so.
No, and because it's playing on national public television, of course, with it being metal. On top of Gojira playing at the Olympics, we have new Opeth material. Finally, this will be the first new bit of material since, I feel like I must script the name, Incauda Veranum. I believe that's the name of the album, because I don't feel like looking it up right now. It released in 2019, and it was a pretty amazing album, I personally believe. It was definitely a departure from their much earlier material, which was more kind of death metal oriented with, well, don't want to say oriented, but death metal mixed with progressive, so, or it had elements of death metal or metal in general, which, aside from saying progressive metal, Opeth is, as you're aware, is a bit tricky to pin down as far as tagging or labeling them, which is the best thing ever. So, they, any Opeth fan knows that it's been a long time, from what I was reading, approximately about 16 years since Mikhail, I believe that's how it's actually pronounced, not rather than Michael, as we Americans like to do. But Mikhail has started growling again for the first time in 16 years, which I was very surprised by because I thought he had pretty much sworn it all off. But he does that in this. I will be transparent. Doppler and I have already heard the track, but why not hear it again and be able to have another fresh take on it and to be able to provide our thoughts on the matter. So this is the new track from Opeth, Some S-Looking Thing 1.
Some S-looking.
Because I don't know what it's called. I don't remember what that little thing is called.
I don't remember either, so I can't say that I just think you called it that.
So yeah, some S-looking thing. Alrighty, so one of the things that I forgot to do that I used to do on this kind of thing was, especially when it's a group that we haven't really talked about before, I know I would, we tend to discuss how we would get in, how we discovered these groups or what got us into them. And you, sir, how did you discover Opeth? First off,
Truthfully, I don't remember.
that works.
Known about them forever. At least as long as I can remember, anyway. And I've heard a handful of songs, but there were never anybody I really listened to a lot. I'm sure a lot of people are, do you say that all the time? Well, you got to realize, for a very long time, I had what I liked, and that's all I listened to. I didn't really out much.
I'm still that way to this day. Shit.
I didn't. Yeah, but I didn't really branch out. Like, I would hear groups, I'd hear a couple songs, and if I didn't fall in love with it, it wasn't something that I reached out to.
Yeah, same way.
Say, and even if I thought it was decent, if it didn't, and so that's why you hear me say that a lot. I didn't really start branching out more till, honestly, probably the last couple of years. When I say that, I'm talking like maybe last 2. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, I honestly don't remember when I first heard about them, but it's been 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. So, for me, it was whenever Watershed came out, and I don't remember what year that was offhand. Let me look that up really quick.
2004. I don't know. I just made that up.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be hilarious.
No, it was 08. So Watershed.
I wasn't that far.
Yeah, not that far off. So essentially 16 years ago. This was amongst the time where Headbangers Ball, or the reforming of Headbangers Ball, came into play, and Porcelain Heart, I believe, was the track that came on, and I was absolutely enamored by it because it had just a straight up doom feel to it. Like, they brought on what seemed like an influence of early Black Sabbath and just made it like a bit more modern, included some progressive elements into it, almost like loungy, and it was mesmerizing, to say the least, for anyone that has heard Porcelain. Is it Porcelain Heart? Now I'm starting to question myself.
I feel like I've heard that song. I don't know if it was by them or not. That sounds very familiar.
Hold up. Yeah, Porcelain Heart. Okay, yeah, that's what I did here.
I have a feeling, because it sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So Porcelain Heart was just absolutely amazing, and then I got Watershed, and I was just amazed by the entire album. And since then, I have always greatly enjoyed listening to Opeth, just because they first off, greatest musicianship you'll ever hear. Some of the greatest musicianship you'll ever hear, and they continued on. And albeit they got to a point where they weren't as heavy, they kind of went a little bit soft, and people still enjoyed them, but people still held on to their glory days of like Blackwater Park or Orchid or some of their very early material. But they have come out with this, and holy shit, going into our thoughts and perspectives, I'll let you take it away.
I don't know if I'd call this heavy.
It's heavier than their last 2 albums.
Say heavier, but I don't know if I'd necessarily call it heavy. It's still metal, don't get me wrong, but
I would almost put it into the hard rock aspect.
You think about it, though, there's a lot of genres of metal that aren't heavy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we have to put this into the context of the time when it was released and what was considered heavy around that part of time.
There's a lot more to what construes metal as than how heavy it is.
Mm-hmm.
At least to me. I think
it's true.
With that
well, not to mention, we have to understand that Metal is one of the most subjective terms.
It is, and it's one of the most diverse genres there is out there too.
Mm-hmm.
There's another reason why I love it. But anyway, kind of veering off track a little bit there. So, this song, I really enjoyed it. When it started, it kind of had a little bit of that loungy feel, like you were talking about, which helped set the undertone for the whole song. And it immediately kind of grabs you too.
It does.
And then you have the guitars come in, which that's when you really start to bring in that progressive element, which stayed there throughout the whole song. And as I told you when we first heard it, one of the things I really like the song, it was progressive without being too progressive.
Exactly, and this is what I have always loved about Opeth. As far as any kind of progressiveness in their material, it more or less just feels like hard rock lounge to me. And that's what any kind of, even though I do enjoy Dream Theater, I do enjoy Rush, Opeth is one of the few that I have personally heard, or at least is within the mainstream realm, that takes a very it provides a very approachable open door to progressive metal, progressive rock, or anything of the sort. It's
Good way to put it.
Yeah, you open the door and it's just this lounge setting to create a vibe, and no one's trying to show off any kind of skill or whatever. They're just there for the vibe of the entire piece.
Yeah, and that's a good way to put it. It's a good gateway progressive group to show somebody. If they like it, then you can go into the more progressive groups like Dream Theater. Because Dream Theater is always going to be more progressive, but they do it well.
That's because John Petrucci is just a fucking monster when it comes to progressive metal.
He really is. And then you have the progressive bands I can't stand, the ones that you feel like they're doing it just to show off. And that you just could interest me at that point.
It's just a bunch of guitarists wanking off to one another.
Yeah, I don't care. Make good music, But
exactly.
So yeah, they did a really good job of being aggressive without being too aggressive. So it wasn't in your face. It wasn't distractive. It all flowed really well together. I liked the overall feel of the song. Matter of fact, I told you that I was like, am I the only one that feels like this could have been in a Burton Elfman movie?
Well, and again, going off of that, there were some comments that were describing this as very gothic, and yes, it is. They went, again, one of the very few progressive rock metal groups that have incorporated the gothic element into this, but I also greatly believe it's because of them being Swedish, and that's not just to say that every Swedish group is going to be gothic. It's just within the progressive line, Sweden, along with Norway, was the Nordic area is just swimming with gothic culture, not just Germany. So
yeah. Well, like with Temptation, they're a gothic metal band, and they're from the Netherlands. I apologize if anybody can hear that, or somebody outside with a leaf blower or something.
I don't hear anything, so you're good.
Yeah. But no, the fact that it brought in that gothic element, which I love that sound and music, hence why I've been a big with Temptation fan. That helped me draw to it and enjoy the song that much more. As for the vocals, I liked his vocals. I think that's where a lot of, especially the way they did them in this, is where a lot of the, gave me a lot of those Danny Elfman vibes.
Yeah.
I liked his aggressive vocals were good. I don't know why he doesn't like doing them. Maybe but he's really good at them.
Honestly, from what I read, and Mikhail, if I'm saying it correctly, I'm about to just start saying Michael, even though I know a bunch of people are going to get pissed, but I'm American, so I can't say it well. He is very open about how he feels in regards to what he writes, and from what I've read, he just honestly got tired of doing it. It became just just punching it in, cookie cutter on everything, and he just kind of got tired of it. And I think he wanted to just venture more into just his clean vocals, which he is just has one of the most beautiful male vocals I have ever heard in my life.
You know, and that's a reason too. Like, to me, if you're gonna do that, like, you're gonna stop doing harsh vocals if you're especially good at it, like he is. You know, obviously medically would be a good reason, but another reason is if it's hindering you creatively. Obviously, you know, don't just keep doing something if it's gonna affect your quality of what you're putting out.
Exactly.
Going to do that, then absolutely, you know, do what you need to do to continue to put out quality music. You know, so I can't fault him for that then.
Yeah, I think he's one of the musicians that I don't see this a lot or hear this a lot, that he's not going to do something if the piece doesn't call for it. And and I've read that he will just work amicably on consistently working on something, even if it sounds like shit at first. Then he'll continue working on it, and if it doesn't polish out, and he'll work for months on it to see if it'll polish out, and if it doesn't, even if he's put like months of work into it, he'll scrap it. He has no issue with doing that, just because he wants it to sound amazing to him to start off with, and if the audience likes it, then hey, cool thing. But I have also read that from his words within interviews, he is a very humble musician. Just, he doesn't say that he's proud of his work a lot, just because he's just kind of like, yeah, it came out well. And on this, he said he thinks he might be proud of this work. He's a very interesting musician, just incredibly interesting, just because he's not proud of everything. He's just more like, it works and I like it, but he believes he's proud of his work in this one, which I can hear it.
Yeah. You know, I'm curious. Do you know if this is just a one-off song, or if he's got an album, or if they've got an album coming, or what?
October 11th.
Okay, I'll be curious to. It's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, the pre-orders are already up, and out of the 5 or 6 pre-orders that are there, only 2 are left. Like,
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, everything is just sold out immediately. It's incredible.
Because Opeth, they've always had a pretty loyal following. I will be curious to hear if the whole album's going to go along kind of this, I guess.
So, in looking at it, this might be of interest to you, because with the title of the album is going to be called The Last Will and Testament, and it made me wonder, or begin to wonder, if this is them getting ready to call it quits, or just putting some of their last material out there to say, this is our final work and this is our goodbye to you guys. But no, what it actually is, this is a concept album post World War I, and it is about a man that is, if I can remember correctly, going over his last thoughts regarding the world and his family and what he's left behind, if I remember correctly. And it's about a family that's also been taking care of a daughter for quite a long time. And I guess he's coming close to his deathbed, I'm assuming, with the album title, but I'm not 100%. But one thing I was very surprised about was that did you hear that disembodied, like, what almost kind of sounded like a disembodied female voice or vocal?
Yeah, you told me. Yeah,
that was his daughter.
His daughter, yeah.
Which I was enamored by. I'm like, wow, that is amazing. And
I think it's cool when artists will and their family members to do.
So the other funny thing was that the other day I was just it was whenever I kind of felt like the day was going to be kind of crummy, just because of a situation that I was involved in, and like nothing bad, just work related, that I was just not feeling it, and I decided to listen to Opeth because I felt like listening to Porcelain Heart again, because one of my favorite tracks from them. And then I started listening more to it, and I'm like, I tend to forget how much of a mood lifter Opeth is for me. And then the day after, I was just thinking about them, and how there was like hints and hints here and there of them working on new material. Very next fucking day, they stated that they were working on new material. And I'm like, the odds. And what made me laugh about it is who they have as a guest on this album, and you're gonna laugh too. Jethro Tull.
Really?
Shit.
So you know what? I can kind of see.
Yeah, he's gonna be a flutist on this.
Yeah, I can kind of see it. Yeah.
But I did a double take, so I'm like, Jethro Tull, he's got a kind of a somewhat of a negative connotation within the metal community because of what occurred in the 80s, which obviously was not his fault, but what the world pretty much did. But I'm like, this is gonna get interesting, and like not in a bad way either. It's just like curious, interesting. But yeah, he's gonna be on this, and there's at least one or two other guest appearances that are gonna be on this album that are very legendary and notable. But I'm not in the world of prog. I'm primarily just black metal and old school heavy metal. So I didn't recognize the names. I'll have to look more into them. But yeah, I just saw that and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that is. It's unexpected, but like I said, I can still see it.
Knowing Opeth, they'll pull it off because
I haven't.
They are, in their process, they are incredibly avant-garde. They are not afraid to go experimental at all. But
yeah, which to me is not a bad thing. So
no, but did you have any more thoughts and perspectives you wanted to give
about the song? No, I don't think so.
I got you. So, for me, considering that, like, I know their older material had Michael still growling, and hearing him do it again, just so fluently, like he never quit, was amazing, and it served the piece incredibly well. I greatly enjoyed the lounge feel to it just because they are so damn good at it. At first, whenever I first heard this, the like the eerie keyboard or what synthesizer they were using at first, I was a little off-put by it just because it almost felt like it was kind of randomly thrown in there, and of course, this is what it was meant to do. It gave it like an uneasy feeling, like it was just a little too much. And then hearing it, like, actually with headphones and being more in the context of everything else, it worked, I think.
It did work. It was kind of funny. If you didn't know who you were listening to at the beginning, with that starting, because it did have a little bit of lounge feel, you'd be like, where are we going with this? Is we about going to jazz? Metal?
Well, and the funny thing is, this is Opeth. You have no idea where the fuck you're gonna go. So it definitely worked. And then even the clean vocals in this, and there was one thing I greatly enjoyed about this track, which has not been in the last couple of Opeth albums. Now I'm talking about in Caudet Verenum, which I believe it's called, and then the one before that I believe was Sorceress. Yeah, Sorceress. This one went a little atmospheric, and it worked well for them. Oh, no. It was at least 3 albums ago that they went off the rails from being more progressive metal and went to a more progressive rock feel, because before that it was Heritage. And I remember when that album came out, and I was excited, and then I listened to it and I'm like, this is a drastic change. But I mean, it still worked for what they were doing. I just wasn't the biggest fan of it. Then Sorceress came out. I liked that one a bit better because it was a good bit heavier. And then Encada came out, and it was so well written. And Encada had more the lounge type feel, and it was, even from the album cover, you could tell that it was more for like almost like a ritzy party or ritzy get together where they were literally they could literally be lounge players inside that, and they were just doing the progressive aspect of it. But I greatly enjoyed this, and the first time I didn't hear his daughter's vocals, and then I heard it this time, and I'm like, wow, I hope she follows in her father's footsteps, because if she has even half the genes that her father has musically, she could be her own artist and just do something amazing, which she may already be doing stuff. I just don't know because I haven't looked into it. Or given that they're a progressive group, could she take a more classical approach to her own material and want to blend in hints here and there of like a progressive rock aspect, which I think would be fascinating to hear. But yeah, it's funny because just one single and all these possibilities could pop up, but then again, you don't get that with a lot of artists. But I definitely enjoyed everything, and the bass line at the beginning was just absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. But yeah, as our other reviews and perspectives on listening to a track, I don't have a lot to say to each particular bit and piece of, oh, this section here they did great at this section here, I wasn't too sure, this section here, this section. Just breaking it down. I know we don't typically do that because we're just more like the average metal guys just listening. Did we like it? Did anything special jump out at us? But it's kind of difficult to do that whenever the whole thing is just incredible. We have to pretty much take it as a whole of what it is. But I foresee myself getting this album. The only thing is, I am definitely at this point where I'm not going to jump on a pre-order unless I have heard at least half the album and pretty much waste the funds. And Opeth is a group you can't predict. Not really. So we will have to see what else they come out with. I don't know if we're going to do another review on the other stuff just because of, depending on how work goes, depending on how life goes, we'll just have to see whenever we get to that. But this was a huge moment for like the rock and metal and progressive field and genre. So I definitely wanted to jump on this.
Yeah, make it clear that this doesn't mean that we're back permanently again, at least not yet. So
yeah, we're still on a hiatus. It's just like, holy shit, guys that haven't played and haven't had an album since 2019, they've just come out with something. We want to investigate this. But,
especially like that, yeah, we might. But in terms of regular uploads, it's still going to be a little bit.
Yeah, shit. Hell, I'm expecting maybe November, December, whenever that could eventually begin to happen. Yeah. But yeah, I think we will leave off on that. Any final words from you, sir?
No, other than thanks for whoever stuck around for this long a video.
I was about to say,
a lot.
We gabbed a lot, but then again, we used to gab on here all the fucking time, so it turned into a just chatting ordeal. Alright guys, well, we appreciate you joining along and listening to this with us and hearing our random gibber from a couple idiots who, to most people, probably think that we have no idea what the fuck we're talking about, but I don't give a shit.
Sometimes we don't.
Exactly. Exactly. But until then, guys, even if you're local, keep rolling happy.